YouTube, Awesome Writer here. Welcome to my review for Mighty Morphin issue 21. This was an interesting issue because the way it started out, it seemed like we were going to be in for more of a filler, sort of character-driven issue, kind of an interlude issue. And it had a little bit of that, but it wound up having a lot more big stuff than I thought. It made for a bit of a mixed issue, but kind of a cool issue as well. First of all, they're using a really weird art style in this, which I guess is when they used a go-go at one point that makes it look like we're in the 90s universe. But I love the comics, man, but sometimes the art is all over the place. I like recently reading the Power Rangers universe Countdown to Destruction one, or Countdown to whatever. I feel like they changed art style multiple times within that, and sometimes I just think it's kind of ugly looking, and I'm not a fan of this particular art style, at least when it's pertaining to the humans. It makes them look weird. Although, to be fair, there is one later where they have like a flashback to when Draken killed Tommy that makes Tommy look really creepy, or Draken Tommy look really creepy, like a Green Goblin Draken, like, Tommy's on sabbatical, honey. Anyway, like the episode starts, Kim's visiting Jason to offer help, but he doesn't really want it, and then Trini and Kim are like, let's go to the mall today. I don't know why I clapped. Go to the mall and I think, okay, this is gonna be like a fun character-driven issue, I guess. And then the interesting stuff happens when they're talking. And Trini's telling them about their adventures in space and meeting new rangers like Andros. And Kim is shocked, like, oh my god, there's other rangers out there. And she's like, yeah, you don't know the half of it. Like, there was a whole alternate timeline where there was a bazillion rangers and Draken killed Tommy, and it's whatevs. I honestly forgot or didn't know or remember or something like that, that the other rangers didn't know about Shattered Grid. Like, I knew that the non-Omegas didn't have their memories of it, but I thought they did know about it. So I was surprised about that, and so much has happened that it just kind of slipped my mind too. That was surprising. So I guess when Draken showed up before the Imperial arc, they just, from their point of view, the Jedi were evil, but also from their point of view, the last time they saw him was from their first fight and not Shattered Grid. But that was interesting. I'm wondering if that's being brought up as we head towards the 100th issue and stuff, and Draken will probably be making a reappearance, but it was an interesting character beat. Like, it was interesting to me in general that she didn't know that, but then it actually gets to Kim's motivation in this issue, because then she goes back to the command center and she's talking to Billy. And this conversation she had with Trini and now with Billy is kind of building off of what she had talked about with Adam an issue ago or a couple issues ago, when she was talking to Adam about how she feels very replaceable as a ranger, seeing how easily Rocky, Adam, and Aisha slid into the shoes of Jason, Zach, and Trini. And this makes her feel even more replaceable, and, you know, we're not the Power Rangers, we're just one of many. Yeah, that's what we've been trying to tell everybody. MMPR aren't the Power Rangers, they're only one of many. It's interesting, actually. I like the way, I thought it was interesting to see her reflect on what she found out, especially about Tommy being killed, but also add on to a character beat from a couple weeks ago of feeling like this whole thing about destiny and her role in it and how important it is, and it kind of in a way ties into like why she would maybe leave if they follow the original timeline. And she effectively wants to defy destiny. She wants to take a path different than expected and advance further than expected. Which, I mean, they're already off book. The timeline changed after Shattered Grid, and the events that were originally happening have changed significantly. But I don't think she realizes that. And Billy's like, well, there's this power-up that I found that we could work on, and her and Tommy decide to go. Side note, her and Tommy also have a nice little moment in conversation in this issue too, another nice little character beat. But anyway, they go into like the danger room holodeck type of thing, and the power-up they're trying out is the metallic armor. And that is, you know, if you recall, in the show universe, and then in the original, probably what would have been the original version of the timeline before Shattered Grid, they would get that more around season 3 time, late season 3, post Ninja Coin powers, but they have it now, and they're experimenting with it. But it's like unstable because it's like not ready yet, on top of being unstable in general. Not to mention that this holodeck uses grid energy, which creates this like unstable vortex. And at the very end of the issue, this vortex that they open up from all of the unstable grid energy sees a bunch of villains of Rangers past coming out of it. I think Sledge is there, Tarkina, Rancic, Void Queen, and that's very interesting. I did not expect that. Like I said, when this issue started off, I thought it was going to be more of a character-focused issue, which it was, but I thought it was only going to be that, like an interlude character focus. I did not expect a bunch of rando villains to show up at the end. I think it was certainly a neat cliffhanger. I'm very curious as to why that happened and how that's tied to the grid and how that works. Because I hate shallow fan service, like, oh my god, they're standing there! Like, I could give a shirt like about that. But I am curious. I think it's interesting, and I'm curious to see why that happened next week. But on top of that, I did find the stuff interesting about tying in Kim finding out about Shattered Grid into the character beats she was having a few weeks ago. I thought that was really interesting, and seeing the metallic armor early. It would have been cool to maybe get a new power-up, but I guess that ties into like the whole idea of her wanting to advance faster, and that's something we know they advance to. It almost seems like there's this cohesion recently between Lightning Collection figures that are on the market and the comics, because, I mean, this is only the second time it's happened, but the Metallix figures have been available semi-recently, and, you know, now we're doing the metallic armor here, and then over in the Power Rangers comic with Andros, they showed off like a version of the stealth costume that is basically based on the stealth costume you have for Andros underneath Robed Andros from the Lightning Collection. I actually kind of dig that. I wouldn't mind if that happened more in the future, because it gives a little extra layer of collection meaning beyond like, yeah, we know the metallic armor came from MMPR Season 3, but now I can also think about this little story arc if it continues. Same thing with the Andros suit. Like, I'm like, oh, I have this cool figure of the cloaked Andros, but now I'm like, oh, I have a stealth version of the figure, which represents this form from the comic. So I think that's cool. I wouldn't mind if they did that more in the future, but going along with that, Lightning Collection Omega figures, when? Seriously. I overall did like this issue. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 just because I felt it was a little bit jumbled. Like, I felt the pacing of it was rather strange. It almost felt like multiple issues in one. But I did like what it did. I like the story context of the metallic stuff. I hope that it doesn't end up just being shallow fan service, but I do like the ending. I thought it made for a surprising, like, good cliffhangery ending. Like, I want to find out what happens next. And I also did like the character-driven stuff. I've mentioned before that some of my favorite stuff about the comics period, but especially before we started to get into bigger story stuff, was the more fleshed out characters, and I do appreciate that little moment to focus in on character motivations like Kim's. But what do you guys think of this issue and the early metallic armor debut and the random appearance of Rangers villains past, present, and future? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you can get the notifications from my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.